So next part is to show how to trace the formula. Like we have written so many formulas, so many functions we have written, but at times what happens, it is very difficult for us to trace like where these formulas are rising from, which are the cells which are actually responsible for this formula. So what we can do, we can actually go ahead and work with this option. So formula tracing, for the tracing of dependents and precedents, these are two different factors. So we can also put precedent and we can also put dependent. Precedent is actually to check a formula, and dependent is the process of checking a particular value with a particular formula. So we will go to our Excel sheet and let's take an example. I just wanted to check, like, see, this particular cell is not giving me any output, but I know that it is referring to a particular cell in my sheet or in my workbook. So if I wanted to check which are the cells which is actually responsible for this particular formula, I can simply go to formulas, and there is an option which says trace precedents. The moment I say trace precedent, you can see that gives me an blue color of arrow. So set of arrows are there. One of the arrow points to this number of the column number, because this VLOOKUP is also dependent on this column number. This VLOOKUP is also dependent on this particular value that we have chosen, and this VLOOKUP is also dependent on a third place which is not within the sheet, which is somewhere in some other sheet. So it is just showing it as this way. So I can check any one of these formulas. So you can see like this, all these formulas will show up, like where are they or which all are the precedents. So all of these cells have their same precedent like this, and they are all pointing towards a separate sheet altogether. At any point of time, if you wish to remove these arrows, you can simply say remove arrows. Now let's say this particular thing can be checked for a data as well. So if I just wanted to see, let's say this is a salesperson, just I have typed it there. I wanted to check which are the cells which is affecting this particular salesperson thing. So what we can do, we can say trace dependent. So this is affecting these all three cells, because we are using VLOOKUP function and all of them are using these three cells. So these three cells will be highlighted like this. Even if you see a blank cell, if you say trace dependent, so it will show all the dependent cells over here. Now you can just say remove arrows. Now what happens at times, you just wanted to check whether a particular sheet has got any formulas or not. In that case, what you can do, you can either go to formulas and press show formulas from here, or from your keyboard also you can press Control and grave accent sign. The grave accent sign is just below the escape symbol, escape key from keyboard. So what you can do, take your cursor anywhere within the sheet, and the moment you say Control and grave accent, it converts your sheet into a list of formulas. Wherever formula is there, it will point out like this. So this means that, let's take an example. You have opened a sheet and it shows something like this, all everywhere formula written like this. So what you understand, that somewhere show formulas is triggered. So you can always again click on this option, show formulas, or from your keyboard again you can press Control and grave accent, so it takes you back. So Control, grave accent or show formulas is actually a toggling option. So you can go back and come back once again. Now if you go to this sheet, so I can see that, see, these are simple merely numbers. However, I know that there are some formula that are there, or some functions that we have used and we have written some formula. So I can see like this. So anything like this, I can say precedent. So I can say that these are the places which this particular cell is pointing to, like this. So trace precedence we can see. Similarly for H lookup as well, whenever we are talking about this, we say trace precedent. So it shows me that this is the range which is being used by this particular formula. You can remove all the arrows. You can see the dependents also. So let's say I have written Eric. So Eric, this particular cell, the dependent cell is this particular cell. So if you make any changes here, this will change. Fine. So this is the HLOOKUP part. So you can see here, if I write Sally, it changes the number. So this is dependent. Okay. Remove the arrows. At any point of time, if you want to evaluate a formula, so you can see the details, like what if I change, or let's say right now the evaluation is this and the reference is actually J25, the salesperson J25. So the value of this particular cell is like this. However, if it is a formula and you do evaluate formula, so here you can see how your data is, and it will show you step by step how it works. So if you say step in, so first step, what happens, it checks for Sally. Fine. So Sally is the main parameter for HLOOKUP, and then you can see that automatically it says here that this J25 is having the value as Sally. So like this, you can evaluate the formula and you can see what is the output of this particular formula that is written in J25 cell. So this is the way you can do that. You can also put some watch on your data. So if you say that, say add watch, and if you say that this is my formula that I want to watch, so what happens when you actually put here Eric? So you can see that the value changes and the formula is like this. So it is dependent on this particular cell K25, whichever cell that you have taken here. This is J25 and it is affecting K25, and this is being watched. So it is also possible to delete the watch once you have checked the output, and then close the watch window as well. So at times, so this is how you can trace the formula. You can do some evaluation with the formulas and show and remove that arrows as well, dependent and precedent.